And welcome into the Friday edition. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you. We are presented by Green Ventures Landscaping, outdoor patios, landscaping design, lawn maintenance, and more. Check them out at greenventureslandscaping.com. Joe Rexrode, good morning. How are you? What's going on?
Not much. Doing just fine. Had some good stuff to watch yesterday. And some good court case to watch yesterday. And apparently the judge talked for a full hour. We can get into that later.
Yeah,
An hour.
A lot of stuff going on in that court case too, by the way. A lot of different life situations coming up in that court case. Looking forward to discussing it.
Yeah. And a judge who doesn't know a lot of things.
A lot of stuff. Ian Safar, how we doing? What's going on?
Good morning, guys. Doing just fine, thanks. Still a little chilly out there, but doing good. Trying to find a computer screen here to stream this hockey game that apparently Sweden's not on television. So I'm trying to find an extra screen here. Try and turn that bad boy on.
As we know, a lot of stuff on TV going on at 5:10 in the morning, which is when that game started. So it was 2-0 Finland after one period of play, Joe. Saros off to a good start, and I think Forsberg got like 2 shifts in the first period, so he's making some progress.
Wow. Okay. Hey, he's coming on. Nice upstart. Trying to get breaking that lineup of players that aren't nearly as good as him.
Kid might have a future one day in this league if they just stick with him out there. Sweden played an 82-game season. By the end of the year, he might actually play a full game.
So weird.
Just absolutely unbelievable.
I'm kind of surprised it's only been on USA, one channel throughout the day. I kind of thought they'd have maybe a second channel somewhere with a few extra things.
You would think.
I think there's 2 USAs though, right?
There are, and I think they're trying to push Peacock too. I've watched
Streaming.
Almost everything on Peacock. So
yeah, it's a bummer.
Kind of is what it is. It's the world we live in nowadays. It's good stuff. We got a lot going on the program today. Teron Davenport will be with us for his weekly visit at 8 o'clock. We will get into the Titans with him. We got the Rex rant coming up later in the show at 7:45. Joe, we will begin with some Olympic hockey yesterday. I watched 2 periods of the Team Canada game and basically just marveled at their power play unit, which is just unbelievable. But Connor McDavid was the best player on the ice. He looked great. So no surprise there. And then the USA game, I watched the whole thing, and I thought, they got 2 goals disallowed in the first period. The Latvian video coach doing a nice job out there. Everything going well for Latvia there. And then I thought in the second period, Team USA just totally dominated. It's 4-1 after 2 periods. They had the goal toward the end of the period where it was just they looked like the Harlem Globetrotters out there, and Brock Nelson finished it off. It was good stuff from Team USA to start things off against Latvia yesterday.
Yeah. Good first period for Latvia. They're fired up. They got an offsides review, and then the goaltender interference review, which, hey, sure, I don't know. I'll never pretend to know or think something's a bad call, a good call. I don't know. All I know is their video coach is on fire, and they almost scored right after that. By the way, who was that? Was that Boldy maybe?
Boldy?
Yeah.
It was Nelson who got called for the offside. I think it was at Miller. Yeah. I'm trying to remember who was in the net there. But the Olympic rules are even different than the NHL rules, where nobody can figure out goaltender interference in the NHL, and the Olympics, it's going to be, I think, pretty straightforward. If you even breathe on the goalie in the crease, they're going to call it off.
It's going to be called.
Yeah,
because it was very ticky tack.
Yeah,
but then you figured, and good for them to hang around, and their fans were kind of pumped up and everything, and eventually order was restored.
The goal to make it 4-1 was pretty sweet. I must have watched that.
Pretty sick.
I must have watched that replay on the phone about 10 times, I think.
That's how hockey's meant to be played right there, that fourth goal. It was beautiful stuff from Team USA. So, again, Joe, I watched a lot of Team Canada yesterday, and I watched all of Team USA yesterday, and my thought was, yep, I need to see these 2 play each other at some point. That's the only thing I care about in this tournament now.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, like to see there's some other good matchups too
Sure.
that along the way, but that's obviously the primo.
Yeah, very much looking forward to that when that happens. Oh, if that happens, I guess. Joe, what a game. What a job done by Shea Ralph and the Vanderbilt women's team last night. They win 86-70 at home against Texas in a top 5 matchup in women's basketball. Michaela Blakes with 34 points, Aubrey Galvin with 18 and 8 rebounds, and number 5 Vanderbilt just crushes number 4 Texas last night at home. What did you make of that? And that win by Vanderbilt.
Really impressive. Talking to Jake Lyman yesterday, and I mentioned yesterday the big 3, right? UCLA, UConn, and South Carolina that I would be willing to bet will be in the Final Four. Like they're all going to be 1 seeds, but really Texas should have been mentioned. Texas beat UCLA. Texas beat South Carolina. Texas beat LSU. Now they've also lost to South Carolina, lost LSU. They split with those two, but really that team is right there. I mean, they've played other than UConn, they haven't played UConn, but they've beaten the other 2 elite teams. And so, talking to Lyman yesterday, it's like great game, big game, but what will it take for Vanderbilt to have a chance? I mean, that's kind of the conversation, and they're just running them off the floor for most of that game. I mean, it's amazing. Shea Ralph, or I'm sorry, Michaela Blake, 34 points. I think she should be National Player of the Year. We'll see. I mean, Sarah Strong from UConn has a case. It's a loaded team. She's not going to have the scoring numbers. I just don't think there's a better player than Michaela Blake's. So that's going to be interesting. But also, first of all, Aubrey Galvin is an incredible player, the freshman. Yep. I mean, she's just the 2 of them are incredible. You project this forward real quick, and they have huge recruits coming in next year. I think, 2 really high ranking recruits. And, you got to think too, you need someone in the portal. You would think that it would be very attractive to play with those 2 guards next year. But can Vanderbilt get a number 1 seed? I listened to Lyman's call last night. I was driving to the airport to get little Sparty. He's got to have a little back thing down here. Okay. And great call by Lyman, but he was talking after the game, about Vanderbilt being in line for a 1 seed. It's possible now that they beat Texas. Now, again, I just mentioned Texas's wins, right? Again, Texas has the UCLA win. They have the South Carolina win. They, like Vanderbilt, have an LSU win. And now, of course, you have Vanderbilt with this one over them. So it's a race, though. I think Vanderbilt probably needs them to lose at least once more, and Vanderbilt, then you got the SEC tournament, but it's a race for the number 1 freaking seed, which is truly amazing.
Yeah, it's great. It's incredible. And like you said, I mean, look, Michaela Blakes deserves all the deservedly deserves. Did I just say that?
She does deservedly deserve
deservedly deserves the attention that she is getting. I was watching, and my buddy Jim Diamond was actually covering the game last night, and he was like, "This freshman guard for Vanderbilt's unbelievable." I was like, "Aubrey Galvin, yeah, she's pretty darn good, man." 18 points, 8 rebounds for her last night. She's just fun. I mean, those 2 together, when they're on the court together, it's pretty darn fun.
It is, yeah. She had this running weird hook shot she probably couldn't do again if she, that was one of those. Oh, no, okay. But she also had this, ball screen where she goes behind her back, leaves the defender on the ground, and then hits this mid-range jumper. I mean, the 2 of them are amazing. JC in Goodlettsville says they beat 2 top 5 teams this year, dominated number 10 Oklahoma, beat number 7 Michigan. That's true. I didn't mention Michigan. That's a strong 2 seed they beat.
Yep.
So that's another big win for them. They're definitely in the Final Four conversation, but can they win it all? I mean, listen, I'm not going to – if you watch them play South Carolina, they actually were right with them for a lot of that game. And then South Carolina pulled away. Obviously we haven't, UConn, maybe UConn is just – I mean, UCLA is a wagon too. So I'm not going to sit here and say no. I mean, it would take astounding levels of guard play, basically like Caitlin Clark, a couple of years ago type thing, that's and of course they came up just short. I'm not going to say no. I mean, I still think, those teams I mentioned are better, and they're certainly like they have way more inside. But I mean, at this point, I think anything's possible. And the fact that this team could get a 1 and be in a strong position to make a Final Four. I mean, just that's for all this stuff going on at Vanderbilt, good stuff all over the place. You kind of elevate this team now, right? And this program to what it's doing. It's pretty special.
Well, I do think last night shows you they're a legitimate title contender, right? I mean, that doesn't mean they're going to win it, but they're a legitimate title contender. And I watched that Michigan game earlier this year. Michigan's a good team, and Vanderbilt was really in control of the game the whole time. And then they kind of screwed around a little bit and let it slip toward the end of the game, but they were in control the entire game. So it's not like it was some fluke that they beat Michigan. You get a dominant win like that last night. And look, I know it was at home last night, but I mean, the score is what the score is. The game went the way the game went. They're really good. And, are they UConn? I have no idea. Are they South Carolina? Probably not. But they're right there on if you want to tier it and you want to go, those two up top. I mean, UCLA, Texas, Vanderbilt got to be right there behind them, and they're right there with those teams.
Yeah. So it's good. It's pretty wild, man. It's a lot of fun. I've said this before, but man, what a terrible year, because they're getting like this great atmosphere in Memorial, for the women's and the men's teams. But what a terrible year for it should never happen that Tennessee and Vanderbilt don't play twice.
Yep.
And it's a terrible year for them to not get Tennessee at home, because that would be such a great atmosphere. You'd have a good amount of Tennessee fans in there too. And we're robbed of that atmosphere, which is really too bad. And real quick, by the way, Tennessee, they did respond, for the record.
They did,
to Kim Caldwell, and what she said after the last game. And, I mean, Missouri's not very good, but 98-53, that's a team that was pissed off, right? Like that's
trying to get the former coach in there and add a little spice to it.
Exactly. Kelly Harper comes in, homecoming, not a very happy homecoming, but you take note of that. That's maybe Kim Caldwell is going to be okay there, the way Tennessee, responded and played in that game.
We're off and running on Robby and Rexrode, taking your thoughts. 615-737-1025. Our phone number, 615-737-1025. The Trinidad Chambliss ruling has come down. We will get Joe's thoughts on that coming up, and what was a wild day in the court. Robby and Rexrode. Go ahead, Joe.
Oh, real quick. Shout out. Happy birthday, Riley. 7 years old. From the text line. Happy
Very
birthday,
nice.
Riley.
Happy birthday, Riley. We'll be right back. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Robby and Rexrode live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Joe Trinidad Chambliss, Ole Miss quarterback, granted an extra year of eligibility by the state court judge yesterday, who issued the injunction, and he's going to get that 6th year of eligibility. I mean, I guess the NCAA can still appeal here, so we'll see what happens on that front. But a very eventful day in the courtroom yesterday with Trinidad Chambliss. There was a whole lot of stuff going on that came out and that was talked about and that there were video clips of. But at the end of the day, Trinidad Chambliss granted an extra year of eligibility by the state court judge. Joe, let's just start with that. What do you make of the ruling that's happened here on the Trinidad Chambliss case?
Well, it's a huge ruling. I mean, it's a big deal. I kind of had my doubts, but I mean, it's, when you look at the situation, obviously there was like the documentation issue at Ferris State and everything like that. But I mean, the 2022 season should have been a medical redshirt. So, I mean, this does look like I think people's eyes glaze over with these court cases, and I totally understand it. But like in some of them, there are circumstances that, I mean, obviously there's different circumstances, and the circumstances in this one, I mean, at least like I kind of get it when you look at everything that went down. He didn't participate. It was like a respiratory. He had chronic tonsillitis. Again, back then it's like that's the thing. It's like in 2022 at Ferris State, who cared? You know what I mean? It's like he wasn't. Ferris State didn't care about it. Him as a player, he's just some dude on the roster. And all of a sudden now it's like he becomes a great player there. He gets to Ole Miss. He's a great player. He might have been he might have gone in the first round. That's the only thing about this too, is like, the way things go with quarterbacks, like I still think Ty Simpson is going to end up like number 10 or something.
I think he's going to be in number 2. It's going to be hilarious.
Well, it could be. Sure. Could be, and so maybe this, but so maybe it's, you could be like, gosh, if you're going the first round, maybe you should do that. But again, like, what's Ole Miss going to pay him? $5 million this year? He could be a Heisman contender. This is going to be a potentially great team with him now. And by the way, also on the beyond that, like now Ole Miss LSU next year. Oh baby, because now like Ole Miss could beat them, and that is going to be a lot of fun. But meanwhile, the court case itself is just like, I mean, the judge. I listened to some of it. I had coworkers who were like listening to the entire thing. And so there's like this Slack messages going back and forth. And it's like, he just said the same thing for a third time. And he kept talking and like saying stuff like, well, Carson Beck didn't take a class for the last years. That's not true. He wouldn't have been allowed to play football, on and on. And then, like you said earlier, you got like the guy talking about like the dad needs to be isolated from the baby. And
that's Joe Judge. Former Giants coach.
Yeah.
It's hilarious because he was talking about Chambliss and his respiratory issues. Right. So his point was trying to be like, this is how important sleep is for college athletes. And he said, quote, we would have to educate significant others who may have been pregnant during the season, or we're going to have a baby during the season. You'd have to educate them on, hey, you have this baby in the middle of the season. Father's got to play some good football. We ain't worried about your baby. It's a day-by-day production business. He has to be ready to perform, go out there and play. And when I say this, you need to let him sleep. Get him in the other room, detached. You have to explain it to the mother. He ain't waking up for midnight feedings, is what he said. So it went from making a point about how important sleep is and how that impacted Trinidad Chambliss to the clip that came out that is apparently Joe Judge is just, if you want fatherly advice, don't go to Joe Judge.
I mean, I tried to tell Katie that so many times with 3 kids. Yeah, I need to be detached. I need my rest. What are we doing here? I got to write a sports story tomorrow.
I saw that come out. I saw that clip of Joe Judge come out yesterday. I was like, what is happening in this court case right now? How much money is being spent on this?
God. And then the NCAA, like the NCAA lawyers aren't there for the end. So the judge's
Yeah.
like, I guess I had to go get to the Joey Aguilar thing.
Yeah.
And he's going to hold him in contempt of court. So I don't know, man. But
had the NCAA with an opportunity to cross-examine like Chambliss's mother, and they were like, "No, we just like to tell you how good of a job you've done at raising your son." It's like, okay, cool.
It's somewhat like My Cousin Vinny. You know, if anybody's seen that amazing movie, like some of the courtroom scenes. Utes. What's that? Yeah, the Utes.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, the youths. We needed Joe Pesci. That's all we needed to complete this entire thing. Or God, what was Marissa Tomei's character's name?
Oh God, I don't remember, but I know what you're talking about. Just
Marissa Tomei in 1993. Anyway, yeah. So the NCAA can appeal, but you know, I mean, I think this is going to end up with him quarterbacking Ole Miss
Says
next
Mona
year.
Lisa Vito.
there we go. Yeah.
Oh man, when she's talking about Positraction, I mean that is a great movie. Anybody who hasn't seen My Cousin Vinny, go see My Cousin Vinny. There's my tip of the day, movie tip of the day. My Cousin Vinny.
And it was such a college football. I don't even know how to describe it. It's such a college football clown show that went on in that court case yesterday. But there he is. He's going to be eligible to play. So I guess that's good for Ole Miss. But everything around that court case was just unbelievable yesterday.
Yeah.
Had Lane Kiffin tweeting about Joe Judge. Just amazing.
Yeah, and then Lane Kiffin was like, call 1-800 Mars Law or something. I mean, it's just, yeah. Texas says, I'm an Ole Miss fan. I can't believe people are really shocked that the judge in bum farting Mississippi, that's an Ole Miss fan, ruled in favor of us. LOL. Yeah. So Devin Fordover says, so that means Joey's back, right? Well,
two different things.
They're just totally different cases. They could be. But I mean, remember, so just in the past few days, we've had the NCAA win one of these, you know, the one that they should have won with the Bediako situation. And now you got this one. I really don't know. But yes, today I think we'll find out the situation there with Joey Aguilar. And, you know, you may have Aguilar and Chambliss both back as starting quarterbacks in the SEC. Would Vols fans rejoice?
I think most of them probably would at this point. We'll see. I need somebody. I need video. What's going on in this courthouse today? I mean, good grief.
We got Sparkles there. Sparks going to be there.
I would assume so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would assume so. So that
it's going to be a tough one to top.
It is. It is. So, I mean, congratulations to Ole Miss. They got their quarterback back, and now we'll see what that looks like for him. He has been interesting, Joe, because you can make the argument that if you were going to go out and go to the NFL, this would have been a good time to do it because of the lack of quarterbacks that are coming up in the draft. But clearly that's not the way that he's trying to go here. So when it's all said and done, can Trinidad Chambliss follow it up next year, get better? And can he actually be in contention to be in a first-round pick next year? I am very interested by that.
Yeah, it is very interesting. The process of going through this, like with his agent and trying to figure out the right move, because I mean, I think you could make a case to him. Like, look, man, if you go in the first round, first of all, yeah, like you may get paid more this year, but now you start your clock as a first round pick. I mean, that's a lot more money. You know, it's a lot more money. There's a 5th-year option with that, and then of course, you know, if you establish yourself, I mean, you know, we're talking about now again, you can do all that stuff next year, but you do potentially, you have the injury risk. And you know, Ole Miss did lose. Like, I'm not sure Ole Miss is going to be, you know, the same level of team. They lost some really good players.
Right.
They're obviously tampering extremely well out there to get more players. You know, Pete Golding leaving no stone unturned. But
sure,
if they're not as good, you know, and does that, because I do feel like he helped himself a lot with this playoff run too. I mean, he was incredible in the playoff. I mean, I think there were times I was like, I think he's the best player in this whole thing. So it's an interesting conversation, but certainly like the 1 year payoff. And if you think, you feel like you need to get better at some things before you're ready to go into the draft, there's that part of it too.
615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. A trend that is happening right now in college sports that is going to be very interesting to see what it all leads to. We will get into that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. So, John, I'm going to let you set this up. We got a trend going on in college sports right now. We talked about it a little bit the other day with the Kim Caldwell stuff that's going on, but we got coaches getting up there that are not afraid to just totally rip their players in post-game media sessions anymore. So what's the latest example of what we've seen in college sports here?
Yeah, it might be best to just play. Ian, do you have this
Yes.
particular? Yeah, I think it might be. So let me set this one up. It's been a heck of a week. And again, this is one of those things where it's like, okay, so a few things happened in a span of a few days, and like, is there a bigger meaning to this, or is it just that stuff happened? Kim Caldwell, we talked about, like, my team quit. Tad Boyle from Colorado, they get smoked. They went to Texas Tech, got killed the other night, and he's like, we got a charter. We don't deserve it. The university paid. That's a waste of money. We should be on like a bad Southwest flight home, you know? And so, but I think the one that takes the cake, though, would be, I think this is the entire Jerome Tang press conference. Kansas State, I mean, they went in. I mean, first of all, they were in the Elite Eight not long ago. Jerome Tang beat Michigan State. I thought they were going to play Tennessee, but then it was Florida Atlantic, and Florida Atlantic beat them in the Elite Eight. But they've gone in the portal. They've gotten some guys, and it's a terrible season for them. He's on the hot seat. But this was Cincinnati, a very mediocre team, came in and killed them on their home court the other night. Student section kids were wearing bags over their heads. And this is Jerome Tang's presser after the game.
Hey, I'm gonna honor Christ like I always do. Blessed to do this, but this was embarrassing. These dudes do not deserve to wear this uniform. There will be very few of them in it next year. I'm embarrassed for the university. I'm embarrassed for our fans, our student section. You know, it is just ridiculous. We got practice at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, and we will get this thing right. I have no answer, no words. So y'all got two questions. So whoever want to ask two questions, I'll answer them to the best of my ability right now. But right now, like I'm like pissed, and this is all right. Questions.
I guess it's just kind of because if you look at your road and home splits, the last four road games have been down the wire, and off the court.
Yeah, I don't know. I asked the staff this week that same question, and they said that more the opponents. You play. I don't know, because I followed Minnesota last year closely, and they played great on the road and struggled at home. So then they started staying in hotels at home, like treating it like a road game. And so I even talked about, hey, do we need to change that change? But no, none of that crap matter, man. These dudes got to have they got some pride, man. They got some pride. It means something to wear a K-State uniform. It means something to put on this purple, man. Our everything this university is about and all that it's been about. Why I love this place, man. Like they don't love this place, so they don't deserve to be here.
Just what did you make of the student section with paper bags on their heads?
Yeah, I'd wear a paper bag too if I was them. Thanks a lot, fellas. God bless.
There it is, the full presser.
That's pretty amazing. Look, that's very direct. These guys don't deserve to wear this uniform, and many of them will not be next year.
Yeah, so it's. I mean, the thing that I come to with this is especially that part of it, right? Like, they're not going to be here. Like, we talk so much about, oh my God, free agency, and these players are, and I get it. It's like, oh, they're just, here's a little more money here, and so you just leave your school and you go to another school, and then next year you go to another one, all that stuff. But like the other side of this is coaches like, okay, you're out, dude. Like, you six, go somewhere else. And by the way, coaches have been, quote unquote, running off players forever. It just had to be a lot more subtle, right, than that. But it's just basically coming out and saying, yeah, like, these dudes are out, man. Like, bye. I'm getting new players. I just think, we've talked before about it's different for fans, and I am interested to hear from people, but it is different for fans. Like, this has looked more like pro sports. It is different for media for sure. And I think especially just if you break it down to, I mean, we're talking about basically salaries, right? I mean, just that alone is like you're covering pro sports now, right? Now, we don't have all the details, but they come out on some guys. Nico stuff came out. Carson Beck stuff came out. Like, some of the bigger stuff, those numbers will end up getting reported. Agents want them out there when it's like big time. And I think now we're seeing, you think about with coaches. I like what Danny Hurley said. I mean, he said it a couple times, but it's like, these guys make a lot of money. So no one's dogging it in practice around here, man. Like, earn your money, dude. Look how much money you're making to do this. So what? And I think that's totally fair. But also it's like, I think you're seeing, because of these rosters changing every year, coaches and players don't have the strongest, often don't have those relationships. And so they get frustrated with each other. And then when a coach does go off sometimes, like, are you going to reach your players? Like, it's just another example of how, like, coaching right now has got to be, I'm not crying for anybody, because that was a bad presser for Tang. It's not going to help him. He's probably going to get fired. Okay. Like, it's that presser is going to hurt him, but it is an example of, like, how hard this job has become now.
It is. I mean, it also kind of highlights where we are. Like, you're not really worried about your feelings anymore, right? Like, it's pro sports. That's what it is, right? That's what it is. I know we're going to get more into this coming up here in just a few minutes, but it's pro sports. And, like, if you're a coach, you got all this money going on. And again, like, I have no problem with the players making money. The transfer stuff is ridiculous, and we've litigated that over and over again. But you got all this money flowing around, and they're not paying any of the money back if they don't perform, right? Like, the performance is what it is. So, like, honestly, with the way that it's gone, I have no problem. Like, these are not kids anymore. Like, I can tell you this, as somebody who loves college sports, particularly college football, but loves college sports, I do not view them the same way at all. Like, I used to be like, well, this is college kids. They're out there. Most of these guys aren't going pro, which, by the way, is still the case. But most of these guys aren't going pro, and they're playing college football. They're playing college basketball, whatever it is. And they're out there, extending their career as long as they can. And they're going to be here in most cases for 4 years. Awesome. Well, now it's just not the case anymore. Like, this is pro sports in a miniature version, where I view them basically the exact same as pro athletes right now.
I agree with everything except they are still kids. That's the thing, right?
They're not.
Like,
they're adults.
Well, yeah. I guess maybe it's me being as old as I am and you are. Yes, they're adults. 18 to 22-year-olds. Now, granted, some of these, if you're 25, 26, maybe that's different. Again, I've said this before. Say it again. If you plunked me back into that time period of my life, I can only speak for myself here. And then you gave me a bunch of money, probably wouldn't have gone well, man.
Sure.
Now, this is where, you can have agents now. You can have, people to manage your money, and people need to take advantage of that stuff. So it's different, and you're accountable to a team. But I mean, that age is hard. You're stupid. And also well, maybe you are different, but I know for me, like, when I was that age, I did not have the phone and the whole world able to get at me and anytime they wanted to. So, I mean, like, I hear you. I agree. Like, I don't have any problem, like, looking at them as professionals, but also, like, this is where it's so volatile still because of their age.
Yeah. Well, and I'm just, from a fan part of this, it's even changed the way that I view it, right? Like, it's just, it's almost like looking at Kyle Turris, right, of the Predators, and you're like, wow, they're paying Kyle Turris a lot of money, and he's not doing a thing out there. Like, I view it the same way with these college kids now. It's like, wow, they sure did get a lot of money. It's reported he's getting a lot of money out there. He better step it up, right? And we talked about that at the time when this all happened. Like, the money's great, and it's a good thing that you can get it. I think it's going to raise the expectation level with the fan base. It's going to raise the pressure level, the criticism level, all those things. And so there's always good and bad that comes with all this.
Yeah, no, for sure. Lance says the average male's brain doesn't completely develop until 25. I thought it was. I was hoping it was like 55. Lance,
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Isn't it later?
It ended at 25. Oh God,
70. Yeah. Good stuff. 615-737-1025. We'll take your reaction to that. And do you view college athletes basically the same as pro athletes now? We'll take your thoughts on that. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Register today for Stars Trivia Night at Boomba's in East Nashville on Thursday, February the 19th. It'll be a night full of fun, food, and prizes, all while supporting Stars Nashville, a nonprofit providing free mental health support for students in over 200 schools across Middle Tennessee. For more details on how to register, visit thegamenashville.com/events. Throwing it out there. Do you view college athletes the same as pros now? A lot of different thoughts on this, Joe. Let's get your thoughts on this before we get into the text line. What do you make of this question? Do you view college athletes the same as pro athletes now, given all the money that's flowing around?
Yeah, by the way, real fast, Vic Schaefer last night, Texas coach, called his team soft.
Yeah.
Said it's like the weakest team he's ever. So there's another. It's been a heck of a week of coaches going off about their teams. I mean, yeah, I guess basically, yes. Like I've said this before, but cover high school sports. I got yelled at one time because I wrote, East Lansing High's, named the kid fumbled, the key fumble, and then Hazlitt High then took it, and won the game. And one of my editors was like, just say who recovered the fumble from Hazlitt High. East Lansing fumbled. You don't need to write the kid's name in the paper to embarrass him. Like, oh, okay. I mean, whatever. I mean, some people, but I did it like that from then on. I was a college beat writer most of my career, and it's an in-between thing, right? Like these are in a lot of cases famous people. They're public figures. They have great benefit. I mean, obviously, free education is not nothing, but beyond that, you have a platform to for the best of them to then go on, to train and all that and become pros. But that's still different than pro, right? Like that's totally different. Now, I get again, like when you're talking about the economics of someone's contract and stuff like that, automatically like you're covering it like it's pro sports. So yes, like do I also again like look at like the age and is that still context that I think matters? Yeah, it does to me. But I think it's fair. Like I think teams are booed more like at home by the home fans in college sports now. I mean, I think stuff like that is the case. Look, the social media thing, it was toxic long before we ever got to this era.
Oh,
right? Yeah. It was already bad. I think this, now you add this and you add gambling and prop bets.
Yeah.
That's probably where, and it's terrible. I mean, I feel for the people dealing with that, but that's where like you just have to figure out how to shut that out and not even engage in that stuff or look at it. I mean, easier said than done, but that's just what you have to do. But long story short, to answer your question, basically yes, that's what it is. It is minor league pro sports, and again, in some cases, like Joey from Bellevue says, in some cases they're making more. That's why really good college players stay in college because they're not quite good enough to make the big money in the pros, but they are good enough to help a prominent college program win, and that makes them highly valuable to that college program, to that fan base, and so they stay and the guys are trying like heck to stay any chance they get or come back and make that money. And so if that's the case, then it is. It's pro sports. It's a different brand of pro sports. And it's just like no other country in the world that we have, these sports teams that command the audiences they command and the passion they command from fan bases. It's just not like this anywhere else. Everywhere else, it's either pro or it's like developmental and whatever. No one watches it.
Well, I think the other side of this affects the coaches and the administration too, right? From the standpoint of, look, take Mark Pope earlier in the year, for instance, right? Like Kentucky wasn't playing very well. And one of the loudest criticisms you heard from the fan base was, wait a minute, how much money did y'all spend on this roster? And this is the result? Like, that's the coach's fault. Get him out. And I understand, the Kentucky basketball fan base can be like, basically like the Tennessee football fan base in terms of it's a pretty special case that we're talking about there. But that's what it like, Tennessee football. Take it back to that. There's all this money that's being thrown around. It's just, I think this is partly, Joe, related to the conversation we had earlier this week about Danny White. A lot of Tennessee fans don't like Danny White, and it's because all the money that's flowing around, and some of it's some of the stuff he does on Twitter and some of the things he says and all that. But a large portion of it really just goes back to where you're allocating your money. The fans paying just an absolute arm and a leg to get into some of these places to try to keep up with all the money that's around. So, like, the pressure gets put on the administration, the pressure gets put on the coaches because of all this. So it's natural to expect it to get put on the players too.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and it's fair, and then like you do get into situations. I think of Tennessee fans, and I think of like Nico, right?
Yep.
I mean, there's an example of to me where it's like I still look at it and say, I mean, I haven't been around him, so I'm like, that's a kid. He's a kid. He is. He's a, and unfortunately for him, he has adults, including his father, who are clueless, and so they screwed him over. And again, it may turn out fine for him. Got better at UCLA last year. We'll see. I mean, he's talented, but that whole situation, the way it was handled, was terrible. And I mean, I'm not saying Nico is completely blameless there, but I do I blame the adult way more. I guess this happens in the NFL. Like there are times when you could like look at a situation and like think about baseball and Scott Boras clients, right?
Yep.
It's like, dude, are you kidding me? And it's just like this. Boras is just an absolute. It's just so like there's that sometimes in pro sports, but I still feel like there's, especially with things so hazy and no real structure and just chaos basically happening. I do feel like in a lot of cases we still just have dumb adults who are leading these kids into bad things. I actually wrote something about this, and I talked to Tom Crean yesterday for it, and just because he's and like these pressers and stuff like that, and he's like, think about like every single player in these teams, like he's talking basketball, but it's like, there's always like some like, oh, I should be getting more shots or whatever. Now, like everybody has an agent telling them, dude, you got to get more shots.
Yeah.
You should be getting more minutes. And it's like every game, and it's, again, like, I guess, again, I suppose, is that not what it's like in the pros? Probably, but also it is a little different to me when you're talking about someone that age who still has a lot of growing to do.
Yeah, like the when you were telling the high school story, and Brett from Lebanon brings this up too, says I'm old enough to remember when college football officials didn't announce numbers for penalties. It was always just generic offense or defense. The first thing that came into my mind, like taking that to the college realm, was like, Chris Webber calling the timeout in '93. Can you imagine if it was just like Michigan player called the timeout with 11 seconds left against North Carolina? He's a college kid, so we can't get all over him.
Yeah. And by the way, can you imagine that happening? Like, can you imagine Chris Webber being a modern college athlete doing that?
He would. Everybody would think he was on the take.
Well, there is that. Yeah. And just like talk about turn off your phone for, I don't know, years. Try that. Yeah. And of course, he was getting paid a lot back then. It was not publicly known, but we did find out later.
He was making a pretty good stack of cash while that was going on. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. So we've gone through some potential candidates for the Titans that could be cut. What about other teams around the league? Who should the Titans be looking out for that maybe they can pounce on? We'll get into that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Friday morning. We are presented by Green Ventures Landscaping. Property managers, if you manage it, they maintain it. Visit greenventureslandscaping.com. Taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. So, Joe, this week we have discussed some cut candidates for the Titans that make a lot of sense. I mean, in L'Jarius Sneed's case, it makes all the sense in the world, and it's going to happen. Like, they're going to move on from L'Jarius Sneed. It would make very little sense for them to keep L'Jarius Sneed on their team, on their roster at this point when there's an ability to get out there. The Calvin Ridley part of this is interesting. You know, PK was on with us. He was on again with DVD yesterday, and he said that he still doesn't think that the Titans have made a decision yet as to whether or not they're going to move on from Calvin Ridley. But it does bring to mind, Joe, you know, if the Titans are going through some of these decisions, so are some other teams around the league. And we've talked about the positions of need for the Titans. They need a lot of help at corner. They need help at wide receiver. They need help at edge rusher. And could the Titans, when cuts start to be made around the league, could they be in position to jump on somebody who a team decides to move on from? So there are a couple interesting names that stand out to me, but Joe, we'll start with you. Is there anybody that really stands out to you that could be available here once cuts start to happen in the NFL?
Yeah, you know, you've got your you've got your obvious free agents, but that's the thing. I mean, you are going to have some people that maybe you didn't think about. So we've talked about some folks, like we've talked about Pittman. The Pittman thing is going to be interesting. I think the Colts, one of the two guys is going to be out of there for the Colts, whether it be Pittman or Pierce. I guess Pittman basically is in a situation where he could restructure his deal, or they might just release him. So we'll see on that one. What about, okay, here's someone that people have totally forgotten about. And look, maybe he's past the prime here, but last time he played was pretty good. What about Joe Mixon?
Yeah.
He had this foot injury, and you're talking about he'd count $8.5 million against the cap for the Texans. That's someone who I think might be out there. Now, is that a little bit of a gamble? Yeah, but you talk about running back. I mean, if he is healthy, I still think he's pretty freaking good. In the secondary, Michael Carter for the Eagles, Darius Williams for the Rams are guys who, again, it's like, some of this is, again, it's all cap related, but it's, again, as we've talked about with the cap, yes, the cap is real. Yes, these are moves to make sure that you're compliant, because you don't want to go underwater, because you will pay for it at some point. You can't kick the can eternally. And the bottom line is, the cap is, these are the kind of players you lose with the cap. Of course, you're paying your top players. You're always going to pay your top players. Everybody always has, always will. But your good mid-level players who you'd rather have on your team than not, but it's like you are going to make choices with money to stay compliant. And this is where some of these guys are going to, and again, some of them are hurt. So there are questions about them. Mixon's a great example. What about Curtis Samuel of the Bills?
Yeah.
There's a guy who, and I'm probably like, it's funny, the whole Ohio State thing, like it was like, Colonel Tate. I'm like, man, could he possibly be as good as all these guys, stuff like that. Samuel, I don't know, for whatever reason, like I've always thought like if he could just find a role, I swear he's a difference maker. But he's been injured. He had some really good stretches in 24. But then, he was banged up this year. Like, you're talking about taking a flyer on someone, but I don't know. That's a guy who you take a flyer on and you might be pleasantly surprised. Those are some of the, Jordan Howden is a safety for the Saints. who, I think could be out there. That's a guy who, again, you gotta address safety. Corner is a lot more important, but safety needs help too. A lot of places need help.
Yeah, like it's going to be interesting to see who actually becomes available here, who the Titans can pounce on. Like the running back part of this, we know they need running back, and we've talked about Breece Hall and Kenneth Walker, who I don't think is going to make it to free agency, but Javonte Williams, some of those guys that are going to be out there and available. There's every year we see running backs fall victim to this, right? And every now and then it's running backs that you don't think are going to be out there and available. Like I'm really interested to see what happens with Alvin Kamara, right? Like I think he would be 10.1 in dead money, and the Saints would save $8.5 million against the cap. I mean, he's 30 years old. So had the Saints reached the point with him where they'd like to move on? If they have, would that be something you're interested in if you're the Titans, even though he's 30 years old? So, I mean, that kind of screams Sean Payton to me. The obvious connection there from earlier in his career, but we'll see what happens on that front. I'll throw another one at you, and I don't think this is going to happen, but he was hurt for the majority of last year, and he played through it. Again, I don't think this is going to happen. I mean, Packers could cut Josh Jacobs, and they'd save $11.4 million of the cap, right? So, I would put that as pretty unlikely, but it's definitely an option that's out there. Like Tony Pollard, I think could save the Titans $7.3 million that you could then use to turn around and go after one of these guys. Like another one, what about DeAndre Swift? What do the Bears decide to do with him? That's $7.5 million they'd save there. So there, I would assume, Matthew Berry put this together at his website, fantasylife.com, and he listed Jacobs, Kamara, Mixon, as you brought up, Aaron Jones, James Conner, DeAndre Swift, Pollard, and Devin Singletary. My guess is, Joe, at least one or two of those guys probably becomes available via cut because it happens every year at that position in the offseason.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely could happen. You mentioned the Saints. Here's one that, especially given the obvious cut the Titans are making, just throwing it out there. What about Marshawn Lattimore? Is he done? It has not worked out well at all. No. The Commanders gave up all this stuff to get him in 24. It hasn't gone well. They're about to save 18.5. It's definitely going to happen. Just like we know Snead's going to happen. I'm just saying, as a guy like that, is there anything there where now it's sort of like basically in his situation, so you got to start over in a sense and prove yourself and just and sign up for a much cheaper deal and things like that. I don't know.
Where the Titans are at cornerback, Joe, I don't know that you close your mind off to anything right now. I really don't.
Yeah.
One running back you mentioned there that Jake Lyman and I were actually discussing before he hopped on yesterday, Devin Singletary.
Yep.
In his connection with Dable with the Giants, he's been there a little bit. I think he might have even been in Buffalo.
Yep. Before
he moved there. What does that mean for Spears? Could that be a change up?
That's interesting.
I don't know maybe we're reading too much into the former players thing with Dable because we've kind of brought that up with Rondale Robinson and maybe somebody else. Maybe we're overthinking that too much.
But that stuff happens, though. That stuff does happen.
Singletary specifically has gone down. Like he's, he averaged 3.7 a carry last year.
Yeah,
I know
he would be a rotational guy, right? He would be part of a
he'd
new
definitely
committee.
be a rotational guy.
Yeah,
but it does bring up what are you doing with Spears? Because Spears, from a cost perspective, he's really cheap, so that helps. But I also people keep acting like, well, you can just split time with Tajay Spears. I'm like, guys, what has Tajay Spears shown you in his NFL career so far that makes you think he's worthy of getting the ball more? I don't. If you get him in space on a pass every now and then, he can make some room. As PK said the other day, and I totally agree, he cannot run between the tackles. I'm not saying that you absolutely move on from him because, again, the cost part of this is he's not expensive at all. But I don't understand the Titans fans are like, yep, it's time to give Tajay Spears a much bigger role in the offense. No, it's not. Based on what?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he had more plays last year. He had some decent games, but I would agree. I think that he is like if you want to try to upgrade RB1 and then he's your third down back, I think that's fine. You don't necessarily have to go get two new guys, but that's what he is. He's a third down back. He can get a couple carries here and there. He's not going to be if he's a split time running back, then your other running back probably isn't good enough.
Yeah.
And
6'1".
so, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that, he is a perfect guy to me too. That, I don't know that you give free reign to Dable and is like, the offensive coordinator is going to make every decision on what the personnel is going to look like here. But I could absolutely see Saleh and Dable looking at the running back room right now and being like, we need to basically completely start over there. I absolutely could see that.
Yes. No, for sure. I do have speaking of Dable, another possibility. I'm not sure that it would make sense, but it's a possibility.
Okay, we'll get into that coming up next. I got another one I'll throw your way too. I wonder if it's the same person. We'll get into that. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Today, Vanderbilt baseball season begins. Commodores taking on TCU today at 3 o'clock, and you can catch all the action on 94.9 The Fan and the Game Nashville app. Taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025. We'll have TD with us at 8 o'clock. We'll get into all things Tennessee Titans with him. The Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode coming up later this hour. Going through some cut candidates around the league that the Titans may be in position to snag if that move happens this offseason. Joe, there was another player that came to mind for you. I'm very interested to see who this is.
This gets into, Vanderbilt has got the same last name, and I'm always, for some reason, I always struggle with this. Is it Okereke or Okereke?
That's a good question. I don't know. I go with the first pronunciation.
Bobby Okereke. Okay.
Yeah.
Giants linebacker.
I kind of go second, but that's okay.
Okereke.
Thus'n lies the problem. We don't know.
I think I'm pretty sure that I've heard people with that name, both different people with the same spelling.
Same spelling, yeah.
Pronounce it differently, but anyway, linebacker. That's not high on the list of needs. Now, what does it mean with and plus it's that defense. This is now Salah's defense. It's a fourth where you really have one middle linebacker. And I assume Gray fits that bill. So I don't know that this is a fit, but it's another possibility in terms of just another player who could very well be out there and has been a leader
Sure.
and has the Dable connection.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all. I'll tell you what, there's one, Joe, that's at a position of need at wide receiver that I can almost guarantee you is going to be out there, that personally I probably would stay far away from. But there will be people that talk about it when this move gets made. I mentioned Matthew Berry, and he kind of breaks this down into different tiers, right? For instance, there's for each position group, the most inevitable cuts that could stick around but probably not and should be good to go. On wide receiver, it says could stick around but probably not. And he talks about Calvin Ridley, right? The new coaching staff, 31 years old, all those things. Devontae Adams technically is a cut candidate. The Rams could save $18 million if they cut him, but that'd be pretty stupid considering the season that Devontae Adams just had, so he's not going anywhere. The one that definitely is that would save the Miami Dolphins $35.2 million in cap savings this year is Tyreek Hill. Now, obviously, he just came off a catastrophic injury. He's 31 years old, and he's been a player that's been very reliant on his speed, and at 31, given that injury, and frankly, the headache that he is, I would probably not even entertain this if I'm the Titans. But I guarantee you, when the day comes this offseason that he gets released, because he is going to get released this offseason, we will have Titans fans asking about Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, no, for sure, and I get it.
So are they going to have to eat Tyreek Hill and Tua money in one offseason?
They might. If they cut Tyreek Hill, it's 15.9 in dead money, but it is 35.2 in savings. So
it's a $20 million net.
It is, but it's coming back to they have, I think, top 5 fewest cap space in the league, and they're that bad. That's why everybody was talking about. And he ended up taking the job, so whatever. But when everybody was talking about the Jeff Hafley stuff, it's a lock that he was going to Miami, I was like, okay, well, you don't know who your quarterback is. Your cap situation kind of sucks, to be honest with you. And there's the GM connection there. Is it just an automatic conclusion that he's going there? I guess it was because he went there, but I still don't look at it as a very good situation.
No, and that's what happens when I'm trying to think of their other obviously Tua they paid and Tyreek, big ticket item. A couple guys on defense too, but
did Waddle ever get big money?
What's that?
Did Waddle ever get big money?
I don't think it was major, but I think he got something.
Yeah, he got a second deal, right?
Okay.
So you're paying 2 receivers.
The secondary trade, didn't they make a big secondary trade? I don't know. Minka Fitzpatrick, the Jalen Ramsey
that's right.
thing.
They did go get Minka. Yeah. So it's in some cases, it's the kind of past the prime, player who still has a big number. So So yeah, it's a mess there. And Tyreek Hill, yeah, I don't. That's going to be interesting. Obviously, Borgonzi, by the way, has history with him. So he is he worked for the team that when Tyreek Hill was at his best, he was like. I mean, Tyreek Hill is one of the best weapons I've probably ever seen in this league, right? For a time, but like it's hard to project that moving forward, and it's not hard to project him being an issue of some kind. That's going to be fascinating. Like he's like the type of like the Cowboys would get him.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen now. They're keeping Pickens, but I'm just saying like somebody is certainly going to. And you know what? Who knows, man? That guy could come out and all of a sudden he's running a 4.18 again, and is a real problem for people. I mean, the Dolphins had, for as creative as that offense was, I mean, Tua wasn't very good. And so you could, if you're his agent, you'd be like, look, man, you can't blame him for Tua. He got hurt. I mean, what were really the issues? He and Tua like sniping back and forth. Okay. Well, Tua pissed people off too, and annoyed people, calling people out in public. So, I mean, you could make the case for him. I don't think the Titans. I'd be really surprised if the Titans demonstrated any interest.
Yeah, I would probably stay far away from that one, and that would fit right in line with the with what people would bring up instantly of the old, formerly productive wide receivers past their prime, now coming back here to Nashville. I mean, that would fit right in there like a glove with that one, baby.
It almost needs its own Hall of Fame.
It really does. It really does.
If he came, that we would have to create a Hall of Fame, maybe in our studio somewhere.
Here, I'll throw another one at you because this one to me is also interesting. Well, I don't know what the Vikings want to do here. They could cut TJ Hawkinson at tight end. They would save $16 million against the cap. Now, then you have to go find another tight end, so I understand that. But Hawkinson's 28. If Titans need a tight end, right? Like they're going to need another tight end. And he just had 51 catches for 438 yards and 3 touchdowns. It was a down year for him.
Well,
how much of that was him? How much of that was JJ McCarthy? And the last 2 years for Hawkinson played 10 games in 2024. He played 15 games this year, and the production has gone down. So you could definitely see why they're at least talking about, moving on from him and cutting him. But could you get him on maybe a cheaper deal if you're the Titans? I'm not talking Okonkwo cheap, but could you get him on a cheaper deal for him to come in at age 29 next year and fit into your tight end room alongside Gunnar Helm?
I'd be all over that if he were out there. The injury thing is a real concern. He's really good. He's still really good. Even last year, like when he was able to play, and like you said, there's the limitations of that offense and the quarterback play. I mean, I think he would be instantly a guy who would actually be a playmaker at that position.
So the point is, Joe, like there is going to be, we'll see how many, but there's going to be some options that the Titans are going to have, along with every other team, at their disposal, that some cut candidates are out here. And as somebody brought up earlier, and I think it's a really good point, the other factor in this is there were so many coaching changes this offseason, so many, that we see this happen, and it's going to happen with somebody in Robert Saleh. They're going to get in the organization. They're going to look at their roster, and they're going to say, you know what? We just don't really feel like such and such is a fit with what we want to do. Where you're talking about that all over the league, like a third of the league changed their coaches this offseason almost. So I think you could see maybe even some more cut candidates than usual, given how much turnover is in the league right now.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it that way, but yeah, I mean, it does make sense, that when you have that kind of change in other parts of the of organizations, that you would have a lot more movement, and so there's a lot beyond like the obvious people we've been talking about, and of course the draft. That maybe the Titans could latch on to a player or two that could actually make a difference for them.
615-737-1025, our phone number. More of your thoughts to get to on NFL free agency, plus a story of local interest here in sports that's continuing to evolve as we speak that just makes absolutely no sense to me. We'll get into all that. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. 1025 The Game's Big Joe will be at the Gaylord Opryland Convention Center today from 3 to 5 for the National Wild Turkey Federation Sports Show. Get your tickets now and check out the latest gear from the hottest outdoor brands, as more than 500 exhibitors will be on site. For more information, visit nwtf.org. Taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025 on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We have, Joe, had some texters basically bring up some bad memories of the Tyreek Hill discussion of, well, Andre Johnson, Julio Jones, Randy Moss, just add them to the list. Why not just keep going that way? I will say Hopkins worked out for 1 year. At least DeAndre Hopkins had the one good year for the Titans.
Yeah, Hopkins kind of busted the narrative a little bit. I guess the way it ended, it was you could lump him in there, but he easily the best. Andre Johnson did have a winning touchdown pass from the great Marcus Mariota at the expense of Matthew Stafford and the Lions. So there was that. And then like 2 weeks later, he's like, yeah, I quit or whatever it was. It is an amazing collection of all-time greats who did nothing here.
I'd rather retire than play for the Titans. Thank you. We'll see you.
Marcus might be too good a quarterback for me. I'm used to who was throwing to Hopkins over there? He had the guy from Denver that they paid all that money to. Oh my gosh.
Osweiler? Yeah.
Oh gosh, Brock Osweiler. Oh boy. Whew.
Good for him for making that money.
Yeah.
By the way, have you seen the so Field Yates has thrown this out there? Which we asked Bumgarner about this earlier this week. Field Yates has thrown the idea out there, the Rams. I guess the Rams have 2 first-round picks this year. And he's throwing the idea out there of they should select Jermod McCoy and Colton Hood from Tennessee.
Wow.
It said it would be he said no team has drafted 2 players at the same position from the same school in the first round of one draft in the common era. But that's what he wants the Rams to do at 13 and 29. Get Jermod McCoy and Colton Hood in the same round, same draft.
Can you imagine if those guys both go in the first round? I mean, apparently, like McCoy,
I think they might.
Yeah, it's just like, it's frustrating when obviously McCoy just couldn't play, and could he have played late in the season? Who knows? But to have that kind of talent and then really not, I mean, in the same year, like your D coordinator gets fired, yeah, that's frustrating.
Yeah, and by the way, the Rams got their first-round pick from the Falcons, who, remember, they traded back up in the first round last year to take the 2 pass rushers, including James Pierce.
Yep.
And that's how the Rams had their 2 first-round picks. So the Rams, who are probably the second-best team in the league this year, Joe, are selecting at number 13 and number 29 in this year's draft.
I'm trying to think if you do, I'm sure they'll probably take a corner with one of those picks anyway, but like if you shore them up at corner, there's not much to nitpick with that team.
No.
Next year. Someone mentioning Eric. That's right. Eric Moulds played here too. Is that right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
God. Eric Moulds was a hell of a player for the Bills for a few years. Man, I had a couple great years with him on my fantasy team. I'll have in like 2005 or something.
He had, let's see here, 32 catches as a Titans. 32 catches for 342 yards in 2007. The legendary Eric Moulds.
So throw him in there too.
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
incredible.
I remember David Givens, but I don't remember Moulds.
Yeah, Moulds. Played all 16 games for the Titans in 2007.
This is 07. So, okay. So this is
so Vince
catching passes from Vince Young. Okay. Yeah. Tried to give Vince some help.
They tried. Look, they made the playoffs that year. And they were quickly done in the playoffs, but they did make the playoffs that year.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So Eric Moulds, I'll be honest with you, I totally forgot about him too, but throw him on the list. I mean, how many yards did Eric Moulds end up with in his career? He was, oh man, that sucks. He's 5 yards away from 10,000.
I was going to say probably in the range of 10,000. Yeah.
9,995 yards in his career. Vince could have got him one more pass. He could have got to 10,000 yards.
One freaking bubble screen, man.
Hey, come on.
One slant, 5-6 yards. Come on.
Joe, there's a story of local interest here in sports that is actually continuing to evolve right now as we speak. Philip Forsberg and the way that the Swedish coaches are using him. We talked about this earlier in the week. Forsberg was the 13th forward in their opening game against Italy, and he played one shift. So the other day he played 1 minute and 7 seconds for Sweden, which is just unbelievable. Well, he's the 13th forward again today, heading into the game. Now, I do think, and I can't tell you for sure how much he's played today because for some reason in 2026 in the Olympics, like we can't get an updated time on ice sheet. And basically what they tell you is, who's scored and who's assisted. And it's amazing to me that we can't do this in 2026. But I'm monitoring the game, between Finland and Sweden. By the way, Finland is up 3-1 against Sweden late in the third period. So it looks like Finland's about to take home a big win against Sweden in this competition. It does sound like Forsberg has played more today. I mean, by the box score, Joe, he's got 2 shots on goal, so that'd be hard to do in a minute. So I would assume he's played a little bit more today, but I'm still getting the impression, Joe, that they're not using him all that much, and I don't think he's on the power play and all this other stuff, which is just I for the life of me trying to figure out how you can be this bad at your job as a coach for a national team in the Olympics, that you have Philip Forsberg basically stapled to the bench throughout the game.
I need a Swedish Kaharski or Vingen, somebody,
Like, what are you doing?
Like this doesn't make any sense. How could, you go through that lineup, which you did the other day, like there's a bunch of dudes who absolutely are not as good as him on that team. I mean, he should be one of their best players. He is one of their best players, right? Like, what?
It's insane.
Is this like a personal thing? Like,
it's gotta be. Like, nothing else makes sense. Or he's like deathly ill and he hadn't told anybody. Like, I don't understand what's going on here. Like, it's crazy to me that this is happening. And again, it sounds like he's playing a little bit more today, but he should be playing. I'm not saying he should get the most ice time on the team or anything, but he should be up there with this forward group. And by the way, I mean, you're getting beat by Finland. It's working out well for you right now, boss. Maybe you ought to change up the way you're coaching a little bit out there.
Yeah, you need a little more offense. Wonder where you could get that.
Yeah.
So going against Saros, by the way.
Yeah.
Would there not be a little bit of a familiarity after practicing against him for years and years?
You would think.
I would think I'd want him taking some shots on Saros.
It's just it's people, and this is not just a Nashville thing. Like, it's one of the biggest stories over there right now in the Olympics in terms of like the men's hockey tournament. Part of this is people all around cannot for the life of them figure out what's going on with Philip Forsberg. Like, it's all people are talking about this morning is like, what did Philip Forsberg do when he was over there? Like what did he do to this coaching staff? Like,
in all seriousness, this is like the coach is available like all the time in the Olympics, and like this is a pressing question that needs to be asked of him, because if you're a Swedish fan of this team, you have to be as perplexed as we are, right? Like, you want to be careful. Like, are we being homers? No. Like, again, look at the lineup. Look at him. Look at what he's done this year in the NHL. Like, it's not. We had to do this like thing. I thought it was just like, whatever. Like, which team? Like, watch this player or that player in the Olympics, and I know. I was like, he's going to be one of their best players.
Yeah.
Duh, he is.
Their coach is getting absolutely roasted on Twitter. I did a search of his name, and he's just getting absolutely smoked on Twitter in multiple language. English, Swedish. There's a lot of roasting of Sam Hallam going on right now.
How do you spell the last name?
Hallam. Hallam. He's just getting smoked right now, and for good reason. First off, I mean, I don't think, I understand, like, we're in America. We don't really care about the Finland versus Sweden rivalry. I mean, it's very similar in hockey to like US, Canada. Like, they really don't like each other. So you got the combination of, from his standpoint, of you're getting beaten by your rival in the Olympics, and you're basically like not using Philip Forsberg. He's just getting absolutely roasted online right now. So Good for him. Going well in the Olympics so far for Sweden.
Boy, Sam, I mean, I don't know what some of these Swedish words are, but they don't look very nice.
No, they don't. They do not. By the way, another goal for Finland. So it's 4-1 with 35 seconds left. So Sweden's going to lose. They're going to lose to Finland. So, look, again, I haven't seen the game, and the stats here are stupid because we can't get things figured out. I will say UC Saros has made 34 saves. So I'm going to assume he played pretty well in this one.
Yeah. Well, good for him.
Good for him.
Absolutely. Yeah, Doherty actually collected some of the nastiest tweets about Sam Hallam. Boy. I mean, like, and you mentioned it, like the Ekholm thing too. So you have some issue with Ekholm. He might help. I mean, God.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Great job, Sam Hallam.
Yeah, really good stuff. 615-737-1025, our phone number. The Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode coming up next. Teron Davenport at 8 o'clock. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, the game.
Sometimes he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. And sometimes he's just, well, Joe.
Awkward moment. Let's do it.
This is the Rex Rant, now on Robby and Rexrode.
Maybe someday you could be like me and get gout.
Utes.
The two Utes.
To what? What's that? Yeah, the Utes. The Utes.
You have to explain it to the mother. He ain't waking up for midnight feedings.
I don't know that I have especially pointy nipples,
I need to be detached. I need my rest.
but sometimes I definitely notice my nipples.
Oh, I'm sorry. The youths.
Excuse me, Your Honor. Two youths.
Am I a clown to you, Mike?
Go see my cousin. There's my tip of the day. Movie tip of the day. My cousin.
God bless America.
It is that time of the day. Time for the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode. You can check it out every morning here on the show. Joseph, the floor is yours, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you. Way too much nipple talk on this program. But it's all in, good, clean, family, fun, mindset there. I have to address this. It's a couple days later. I've finally cooled down enough so that I can address this. So this was a situation where I did pull over the car on the road because I was listening to Corey Curtis and Jake Lyman on Next Man Up Wednesday. I very much enjoy Corey's days usually and most of what he says, but they were talking. Actually, they were talking about the tragic loss of the Three Doors Down singer, and Corey talking about the day that Walter Payton passed away, and that was tough for him. He's obviously grew up a Bears fan, and that's all totally understandable. Then they started talking a little bit about the greatness of Walter Payton, and it went on from there. So I'd like to play that little segment and then react to it.
My dad's a 49ers fan, but Walter Payton was one of his favorite players growing up too.
Best football player I've ever seen.
Yep. That's what he would always say. I mean, I think he would put Jerry Rice and Joe Montana in there too, but
yeah. And again, they're great players, but like Walter did everything,
right.
Everything, run, block, catch, throw. I think he even punted in a game once. I'm serious. There was one game, the Bears quarterback play was so bad that they took all the quarterbacks out and just had Walter take the snaps. That's a true story.
Full on Wildcat.
They did. They just said, forget it. These guys are terrible.
Yeah. I hate that I never got to see him play. There are a lot of players that, I look back on and I'm like, man, I wish I could have seen him live.
Campbell.
Walter Payton, Earl Campbell, Barry Sanders.
Yeah.
Like having seen the Barry Sanders highlights, it's like, man, that dude was just a human joystick.
He was, but he also, and I'm not trying to take away from the greatness of Barry Sanders. He was phenomenal. He took more negative yards, I think, than any player in NFL history because he was on a bad team. And so he'd have to traverse the field and he'd give up yards. Now, most of the time he would make it, but sometimes you'd be in 2nd and 19.
That was Corey Curtis on Wednesday. Now, then I immediately, like I said, I pulled over my car and I immediately texted at him. And, just for the record, let's see. Let me make sure that I get this right. Corey called me an idiot. I know he called me that. What else did Corey call me? I think he called me what's that?
Well,
yeah, maybe. Oh yeah, he called me a dip bleep and an idiot. But I just want to review what was said there. So Walter Payton, best football player ever. Jake Lyman throws in Joe Montana, Jerry Rice. Yeah, but Walter Payton. Okay, Walter Payton, best football player ever, says the Bears fan. Barry Sanders. Well, all due respect, he did have some negative runs. Let me tell you something. Let me be clear right here, Corey, Bears fan, taking your little shots at Barry Sanders, attempting your Barry Sanders erasure. There's not one person in the world who isn't a Bears fan who doesn't look like, George Wendt and Chris Farley pounding their chest in the SNL skit. Who would win in a fight, Ditka or Manny Ditka or God? Trick question. Ditka is God. there's not one person who isn't that comically biased who thinks Walter Payton was a better running back than Barry Sanders. What was his position? Running back. Who's the better running back? Barry Sanders. Everyone but an absolute Bears fan would say that. Yeah, Barry had a lot of negative runs, Corey, usually behind bad offensive lines, usually playing for bad teams. Although he was so good, the Lions won the division twice, got to an NFC championship game, made the playoffs 5 times when he was a running back. He had all those negative yards. And yet he had 15,269 yards in 10 seasons. Now, by my math, that's 1,527 a season. That's 4th in league history. Peyton had 1,400 more yards for him in 4 more full seasons of play. If you want to get more into the numbers, 5 yards a carry for Barry. Mr. Negative Run, 5 yards a carry, 5 yards per carry. Walter Payton, 4.4 yards per carry. Look, I don't normally defend the Lions. They ruined a lot of my life. But when I hear a Bears slappy trying to diminish one of the truly great things they had, greater individually than anything the Bears have ever had, I'm not going to let it stand. Thank you.
Who had more yards, Walter Payton or Barry Sanders?
Okay. Yeah, all right. Yeah, Emmitt Smith did too.
I'm just asking the
Emmitt
question.
Smith did too.
I'm just throwing it out there. I'm just asking a question. By the way, the most hilarious part of that is, you know who's sandwiched in between Walter Payton and Barry Sanders on the all-time rushing list, which is just amazing to me? Frank Gore at number 3.
Right. Yeah. Wow. I mean, look, I'm sorry, but number 1's Emmitt Smith.
Yeah.
Great. Very good player. Probably a great player. Somewhere between very good and great.
There we go.
All-time leading rusher. Yeah, and I don't want to not. Again, this is now what Corey did to Barry Sanders. All due respect.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, I think you could argue that, and probably successfully, that was the greatest offensive line of all time that he played behind. In an offense with Troy Aikman, Hall of Fame quarterback, in an offense with Michael Irvin, Alvin Harper, Jay Novacek. Again, he was part of it. He was great too. There's just no doubt. This reminds me, I know I've talked about this before, but in 1994, the Lions went and won a game at Dallas, and it was obviously the matchup of these great running backs. And I mean, they both had big games. Barry had like 200 plus. It was insane. But ESPN actually broke down the average starting the average starting point of your initial move. Okay, and Emmitt Smith was like 4.3 yards downfield, and Barry Sanders was like 2.2 yards in the backfield. Yeah. It's like, so yes, you can knock him for the negative runs. He had, if you watched him, he had some of the greatest runs of all time that went for like a yard or no yards. But to make that a criticism of him, I mean, my goodness.
By the way, Derrick Henry is only 2,200 yards behind Barry Sanders now, for reference.
Which is wild. Which is very wild. And he's I'd say he's going to get there, man.
If he has a good year next year, he's going to be 6th on the all-time list. Like if he gets like 1,300 yards next year, he'll be in position to pass Adrian Peterson the following year, depending on how long he wants to play.
Yeah. The fact that we ever we used to debate, will Derrick Henry be a Hall of Famer?
Yeah.
Pretty incredible, man. Pretty incredible. Andrew, great text. Emmitt Smith doesn't belong in the same sentence as those guys. He was a coat rider. He stayed around 40 years. Sorry, Chase McCabe. But you may be now. This is a Chase McCabe rant now that he can do against me. Texter says, Joe, I agree with you. I'm not taking anything away from Walter Payton or Jim Brown. Barry Sanders is the best running back in the NFL. Yeah, I mean, again, him retiring after 10 years when he would have had like 5 more good years is why I'm not a Lions fan. That's when it ended.
Yep.
So that's how great he was. That's the kind of power Barry Sanders had.
It's a shame he couldn't pass Walter Payton on the yardage list. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Teron Davenport will be with us coming up next. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
ESPN's Turon Davenport, Talking Titans, now on Robby and Rexrode on ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Turon Davenport is fueled by Parman Energy. Visit ParmanEnergy.com, your one-stop petroleum solution. And TD joins us every Friday morning here on the program. We head to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Turon Davenport of ESPN. TD, good morning. How we doing?
Hey, good morning. What's going on, fellas?
Not a lot, man. Appreciate you taking time to be with us this morning. So, TD, we've kind of bounced back and forth some different ideas this week on the cut front. And the Ridley part of this is interesting. You know, on the one hand, if you move on from Ridley, he's 31 years old. You open up some more money to go handle some more needs for your team. There's also wide receiver needs that are already there that will be increased if you get rid of Calvin Ridley. So where do you come down on the Calvin Ridley part of this if your Titans decision makers kind of weigh in the pros and cons as to whether to hold on to him or to whether to just go ahead and cut him and move on?
Yeah, that's one of the most intriguing questions with this team, you know, when you're talking about roster cuts. And I think you got to look back to how Brian Daboll and Ridley, they worked together before in 2017. And Ridley, you know, he had 900 and I think it was 967, somewhere around. He had over 900 yards receiving. And I think when you look at how this team works, ideally, you need one of those matchup guys that you could move across the formation, and you need a slot guy. Ridley, when healthy, is one of those matchup guys. Now, I don't know if Tyke Tober left the glasses behind for him, that the specialty glasses to help him catch the ball better or not, but one way or another, when he's healthy, you need him to be that guy. Then you go get a slot. So I say all that to say, look, you're saving $13 million if you cut him. You're not cash strapped, so it's not one of those things where you have to do it. So don't create another need by releasing a player.
So if they don't, obviously, then you hoping be healthy, hoping play better, stuff like that. I guess I would view him as a declining but still solid 2. I mean, in this league, kind of, right? Like,
yeah,
you still need a wide receiver. I guess if you do keep him, does that influence your draft strategy at all, or is it just like just your best player and it might end up being a receiver?
Yeah, look, man, if I'm Mike Borgonzi, I keep Calvin Ridley. I go to Brian Daboll and I say, listen, man, I know you and Wan'Dale Robinson had the beef when he was screaming from the locker room, but is that over? And can he be successful with you here? And I sign him. You know what I mean? That's what I do. And then I think when you turn around and you look at the draft, you still draft a receiver. Maybe not at 4. I think, you know, Ruben Bain, if he's on the board, you got to run up there and make the pick. But Mekhi Lemon has value. He's the best slot option in college football. So you got to consider him. You know, if Reese and Bain are somehow gone and it's Bailey versus Mekhi Lemon, now you got a conversation that you got to have. You know what I mean? So I say all that to say, look, man, you sign one, you keep Ridley, and you draft one. And I would say day 1 or 2, you strongly consider drafting one.
TD, how good do you think Carnell Tate is? We had Nick Baumgartner on this week. He loves him, thinks he's going to be a number 1 wide receiver in the league. We had, I'm blanking on the name. Joe, who's the guy who works for your publication that we talked about 2 hours yesterday?
Baumgartner?
No, the guy that the draft guru.
Oh,
Good Dane Brugler. That's an old man moment there, TD.
Man,
Sorry.
I'm rubbing off on
hey,
your brain.
I know.
I have those.
Good grief.
I have those, man. Yeah.
Good grief. So we had Baumgartner on earlier in the week. Brugler loves Carnell Tate too, says he's going to be absolutely a playmaking Z receiver in the NFL. You know, at 4, how much do you consider that if you're the Titans? How good do you think Carnell Tate actually is?
Yeah, I think Carnell Tate is the second best receiver in this draft. Well, he's 1B. I think he, Mekhi Lemon are right there. There are some doubts with Jordan Tyson just because of the injuries. But, I mean, when you look at Tate, you know, just to kind of sum it up with a player comparison, it's George Pickens, you know, minus the crash outs. And I think that's something that would really help this team. And I feel he could play X or Z. I mean, if you look, there's a lot of times where he's getting downfield, you know what I mean? But the only thing about him playing X is you're on the ball, you're going to face, you know, that press coverage. They didn't see that a lot at Ohio State, so can get those free releases and that stuff. So he's going to have to make that adjustment. But you know what? He has a very good receiver coach in Greg Lewis. I watched that man work in 2016 with the Eagles, and he's a solid coach.
I just want to say how validated I feel with my player evaluation skills that TD likes Mekhi Lemon as much as I do. I think that dude is going to be incredible, man. He is. You
know what I like about it? He's sturdy. You know what I mean? And and he'll go up and attack the football. I mean, there was a catch he had. I forget. It was like mid-season. He went up. It was a post, and he caught it, and he got rocked. But he held on to it. And not only did he get rocked with the hit, he got rocked when he hit the ground too, and he held on to it.
No, I mean, it's too obvious, especially because they both played at USC, but I totally see Amon-Ra St. Brown when I watch him play. Like, I mean, I think there's, and he may be even a little bit more vertical. But yeah. So I heard you and Jake with an interesting conversation the other day about O-line coaching. I think he played a Nate Tice clip about sort of, basically right now, it's always cyclical with coach offense, defense. Right now, protections are maybe suffering a bit. Maybe some of these O-line coaches have kind of fallen behind the curve relative to their defensive counterparts. And obviously, Titans have another really good, really respected O-line coach coming in who maybe he's a little bit better off. First of all, do you think that, I guess I still have my, I don't think Bill Callahan's bad. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes and has success. It obviously didn't go as well as everybody hoped here. But do you think he was maybe a little bit behind when he was here? And do you think that the new guy here, I guess, it could be an upgrade, at least in terms of being, ahead of the curve or on the curve at this point?
Yeah, look, here's the thing with Carmen Vasillo. Everywhere he's gone, the offensive line got better. And when he left, it got worse. So, you know what? To me, if I'm spending my money, I'll buy that. You know what I mean? But then also, when you look at those rules and things like that, he apparently is ahead of the curve. Now, I'm not speaking from knowledge on that one because I honestly don't know about him being ahead of the curve from that perspective. But I do know, when you have these different rules, and I spoke about this yesterday as a back, you got to protect inside out. Immediate potential to hit your quarterback, you got to get that first. And sometimes it's a catch-22. It's like you're right, but you're wrong. And you can't keep them clean, you know what I mean, because of how they have the blitzes and the twists and things up front. So I look, the thing with me with that O-line last year is once they started to focus on running the football, things got better. And that's really the key, is running the football, and the other things will fall into place.
TD, kind of put into words for us from your perspective how difficult you think it's going to be for Borgonzi and the Titans to fix cornerback this offseason, given the fact that there's literally, you're looking at it right now, and it's like you got to find 3 guys that could start. How difficult is that going to be to pull off in one offseason?
Well, wait a minute, man. Marcus Harris is still in the building.
He's in there.
He's just starting. Okay,
nickel. So maybe 2.
I think so I would say 2. Obviously, you got to move on from Snead. The change of scenery is going to be good for both parties, right? So you move on from him. I think you look at it's not going to be that difficult. I'll put it that way. And you draft 1, maybe 2, and you sign one. And it keeps coming back to Alontae Taylor. Now, it obviously takes 2 to tango, but he's a Tennessee guy. So I think that will make him want to play here. You saw how emotional he was playing against the Titans when the Saints came here. He was rocking everybody, So you sign him, you draft, a guy like you look at Colton Hood's there at 35, you strongly consider that. There are some guys later. I continue to say Ephesians Price up from Washington is a guy I think, on day 3, if he doesn't run extremely well, I think if you get him on day 3, top of the 4th, and, they have an abundance of 4th-round picks. So I think you could do it. You're just going to have to invest in it, and they have the assets to invest. So it's a good year to do that because the class is deep as far as the draft is, and there are sprinkled free agents in there. Greg Newsome, you know what I mean? That's another option as well.
So I got a texter asking about this, and I don't think this is a real option for the Titans. It's not even really, it's down the list of needs, and I mean, it would be drafting incredibly high for this position. But do you think Caleb Downs is going to be a dude who's going to come in and be like one of those safeties we talk about, for a long time? One of those like I know the word generational is way overused, but like that level of player.
Yeah, I think so. And that whole it's amazing to me that Ohio State lost any games. You know what I mean?
Seriously.
But, I think he's going to be a player, and I love what he brings to the table because he's someone that you could play in single high and be successful. You could drop him down in the box. You could blitz him. You could do everything with him. So yeah, I mean he's going to be a player. But to your point, the position isn't one you always draft high. But he's a difference maker, so you could do that. You see how Kyle Hamilton has been a difference maker for the Ravens. But more recently, you see Nick Emmanuri, how he was for Mike McDonald and the Seahawks. Now, those are different players from Caleb Downs, but impact from the safety position and the ability to play nickel if you want him to.
So, Teron, people throughout the NFL handle this differently. We saw this last year with Brian Callahan and Mike Borgonzi at backup quarterback. They wanted a veteran quarterback in there to be with Cam Ward, and that makes sense, right? Like you bring Brandon Allen in, and he's been around, and all that's fine. And then we saw Brandon Allen get in the game at the end of the year, and he can't play. So, if Teron Davenport is in charge of figuring out the backup quarterback situation for the Titans, what are you doing? Is it as simple as keeping Will Levis? Are you going to bring in another veteran? How would you handle that?
Nah, look, man, I'm getting on the phone. I'm calling Sean McVay, and I'm saying, hey, look, man, we know Stafford. I saw the relief on your face when Stafford said he's coming back. I don't know that he says that next year. So, look, man, I got this young guy that kind of resembles him, a young Stafford. What you want to give me for him? And I trade Will Levis to the Rams. And then I sent a text message to all of the media and say, hey, I'm going to do all you guys a favor. We're going to spice some things up. We're bringing Jameis Winston in. And for me,
yes.
Yeah, that'll be a favor for everybody because, he's a quote machine. But for me, when I look at Jameis, I think, he's a guy in a pinch. He can come in and win your games. But more importantly, he's that old head for Cam Ward. He's a fellow number one pick. He knows what it's like to succeed there. He also knows what it's like to fail from that position too. And then just being a guy that been there and done that could kind of mentor him. And here's another benefit. He has a year in the scheme as well. So that's a favor for Brian Daboll too, because that's a guy that could kind of help Cam Ward and then also be a nice sounding board for him when he comes off of the field. They could talk about things. It's another ear for Cam Ward to have.
We need this to happen because Karski and Jameis could have some of the most amazing interactions of all time.
Really, just in the history of it.
That would be tremendous. That would be tremendous.
Could not. You've got this. You've spoken this into existence, and now I'm going to be very upset if it doesn't happen. TD, great stuff as always. We appreciate you taking time to be with us this morning. Have a good weekend, my friend, and we'll talk to you next week.
I'm a little offended. You guys let me come on here, and we didn't talk about Vandy women's basketball beating number 4.
Well,
yeah,
well,
I love it.
Floor, man. I mean, national championship contender, apparently.
Hey, listen, they may be a number 1 seed now. Let's go, man.
Were you there last night?
No, I had to do Valentine's early. My daughter is singing at City Winery in Philly tonight, so I'm flying up there to see her. So I'm going to be a proud dad tonight.
Nice. That's awesome.
We'll just all save up, and when they're in the Final Four, we'll just go.
Or we just tell Chase, hey, man, sell a sponsorship. We got to go cover it.
No doubt. National Player of the Year, man.
I'm going to tell Jake to pack me up. Pack me up in the suitcase, man. We're out.
Oh, man. Good stuff. TD, thank you, sir.
All right, for sure. Appreciate you guys.
Yes, sir. Teron Davenport, fueled by Parman Energy. Visit parmanenergy.com, your one-stop petroleum solution. A lot of interesting stuff there from TD to react to. We will do that coming up next. Plus, a text message that we received that I am hoping will close Joe Rexrode's mouth when it comes to offensive tackle moving forward. We'll get into all that. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Got some tickets to give away, a pair of tickets to the Nashville Hoops Showdown featuring Ohio State and Virginia coming up tomorrow at Bridgestone Arena. Caller number 5-615-737-1025. Caller 5 will win a pair of tickets to see Ohio State and Virginia coming up tomorrow at Bridgestone Arena. Appreciate TD for being with us in the last segment, Joe. Couple things there, pretty interesting. Number one, TD, high on Marcus Harris. We talked about the corner spot with Kuharski earlier this week, and Kuharski was like, I got 3 blank slates out there. They do have Marcus Harris that's going to be there. Is he going to be good enough to start for the Titans? That one's going to be interesting to see. He's a very young player, obviously. So maybe that is part of their plan, is having him be starting as they come into next season.
Yeah, it would be great if he takes a step and solidifies that. I think it'd also be great if you could upgrade to the point where he's like your 4th corner. But the situation they're in, he's probably going to get a significant opportunity here.
So there's that. There's the backup quarterback thing is going to be really interesting here. I love TD's plan, actually. Just trade off Will Levis maybe to the Rams and see if you can pry Jameis Winston. We went through the cut candidates earlier. He's another one that's kind of out there. I mean, the money is really not that big either way. So I guess it would just depend on, what does John Harbaugh want to do? Just John Harbaugh want Jameis in there as the backup, or are they going in a different direction at that time?
Would John Harbaugh just want to trade Will Levis for Jameis Winston?
Maybe.
Straight up, just trade those QBs?
The amount of celebrating I will do on this show if they get Jameis Winston in here, I mean, we'll spend 3 hours on it.
Oh,
backup quarterback.
Truly amazing. Truly amazing. And again, I totally disagree with PK the other day. Another great example of PK being a dumb head about it. He totally, Jameis says some stuff that's like, what? He also says some brilliant and incredibly fascinating stuff.
He does.
And PK needs some life lessons from Jameis Winston. That's what needs to happen in this city.
I want to shout out Trevor on our text line, who pointed this tweet out that I had not previously seen, but I'm glad he did. This is from Daniel Jeremiah last night, Joe, the most recent tweet he's got. He says, finishing up the offensive tackle class, and it seems like most of them have something in common. They got absolutely smoked by Texas Tech edge David Bailey, which tells me that Joe Rexrode's lifelong dream for the Titans to draft another offensive tackle probably needs to come to an end right now. It's David Bailey all the way, Joe. Can we agree?
We already have agreed. David Bailey's already my guy. And I know Trevor, that's very interesting. That is important. And I know Trevor was just messing with me. So thank you, Trevor. Because again, Robby is hell-bent on twisting this into me saying the Titans need to take a tackle. All I'm saying for anybody who wasn't listening is that the no way a tackle could be considered is a terrible mindset for a team in their situation to take, because I still think at some point here soon, they're going to be right back in the market. They're going to, and it's going to have to be a high draft pick, because we know that that's what it has to be with a left tackle. Because I don't see J.C. Latham. You hope J.C. Latham becomes a good right tackle, and then great, fine. You overdrafted him, yes, but okay, you're solid there. You're gonna have to draft a left tackle in a very high spot, and it's probably going to be next year in the draft after another year of Dan Moore being, open sometimes, closed sometimes, very rarely locked. And so all I would say is, if there's a guy in this class who's elite and it's like, this is the best player on our board, do it. This information is great in terms of making it easy, right? It makes it easy. It's like, okay, there isn't anybody that level. I mean, I'm not saying that this one little segment proves that, but we're probably headed that way. And I am 100% on the David Bailey train. I think he's going to be just a monster. The receiver thing is interesting because, again, I've been down on Tate, but what if he is that good? I mean,
Yeah.
George Pickens without the baggage. That's what TD just said. Okay, well then that might be your number 4 pick.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like again, Dane Brugler, who I can now remember the name of, really likes Carnell Tate. We had Baumgartner on, really likes Carnell Tate. So like if the Titans come away from their evaluation and they legitimately think he could be a pretty good number 1 receiver, well, I think you gotta think about that at number 4, right? Like that fits right into a huge need, and also like they do still need their quarterback to succeed, right? And a good way to help your quarterback succeed is to have somebody that's actually dangerous to throw the ball to out there. So I mean, they're going to have to find that eventually, whether it's Carnell Tate or Jordan Tyson or not. But like if that's their evaluation, I think you got to really consider it. I just the more you look at this draft stuff and the more you kind of dig into it, I just think they're going to have a pretty good option at pass rusher. I mean, Arvell Reese is probably the most interesting guy because he's like a hybrid. Like he's, he plays linebacker, but he's also like the Micah Parsons comparisons, which I think is what Brugler throwing out there. It's like, could he's somewhere between Micah Parsons and Jalen Walker was, I think, what Brugler said. Well, if he's closer to the Micah Parsons part of that, I mean, good grief. Yeah. How do you pass that up if you're the Titans at 4?
Yeah, well, but if that's the case, you won't have the choice anyway, right?
Probably not.
And it seems like there's a lot. I've seen quite a bit out there of him going like 2.
Yes.
So, but who knows? I mean, the film, the most important stuff has happened already. I mean, it is the film, but then you can certainly impact things with what happens at the combine and through this process. And then the question, there is the scheme fit question with some guys, like maybe even a Reese,
sure,
just with the Titans and what they're running under Saleh. I still think that if you're, if you're that level of football player, I don't care what your defensive alignment is, like they'll find a way for you to matter. But it is a little different when you got the 4-3 and you're doing the wide 9 stuff than a lot of the league.
So just to quickly recap, the audio we have is Rexrode saying the Titans should take an offensive tackle and that he prefers Mason Rudolph over Drake May. That's what we landed on. That's what we're here for. That's what the audio says. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. A lot more of your thoughts to get to on this. We'll continue the conversation coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Robby and Rexrode presented by Green Ventures Landscaping for homes and businesses that want to stand out, not blend in. Visit greenventureslandscaping.com. Taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025. Our phone number, 615-737-1025. Weston Herbert is saying that I think if you can get a decent trade for Levis, if you hold on to him for a little bit, I think more teams will be interested in him than people think. I'd love Jameis. Not a need right now, but I think time is better spent fixing the actual holes that we already have. But hey, everybody wants Jameis. I don't know. Like, I don't know how much Levis's value is going to change in the offseason depending on how long you wait. Like, the thing that would help Levis value go up for the Titans in my mind, Joe, would be like if he was actually here, and this would not be a good situation for the Titans. But if he ended up having to play for 3-4 games next year and he played pretty well, that would probably help the value go up. Other than that, I think you're probably looking right now at what? Could you get a 5th rounder for Will Levis? Maybe.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, you have the preseason. So if he lights it up in preseason games, looks really good, looks healthy, maybe that does something for someone. I feel like the Packers, I'm sure Willis looked better in that last preseason here. Maybe, the Packers noticed that could have had something to do with the decision, right?
Sure.
But yeah, I think you have to at least get to that point. I do just want to point out real fast that I have started a hashtag that I'd like people to follow, please.
Okay.
It is hashtag Halamity, HALLAMITY. That is Sam Hallam, who is now the most hated coach in all of sports. And so we should get that trending, hashtag Halamity. That was a quote tweet to Doherty. Here's Dan Wolken's tweet about the Sweden losing to Finland. He said, "Imagine Alabama getting its ass kicked by Auburn in a college football playoff quarterfinal. That's roughly the vibe of Sweden getting worked by Finland in Olympic hockey.
Yep.
Head on pike anger." So
Okay.
Good job, Sam Hal. Man, Philip Forsberg. Apparently he had what, nine minutes ice time?
9.5. Yeah.
9.5, which is way better than he had the other day. It also probably still needs to be doubled, right? That's the craziest part.
I mean, if you're behind a Finland, you're double shifting him. Like what? I in the third period, that's what you're doing. But he's just ramping him up, man. Ramping him up, getting ready for the big games.
Yeah, save him.
The country of Sweden is fine with that, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll go really well. Another interesting thing that TD kind of pointed out there, we went through a lot of different spots with him, and he said if Ruben Bain is there at 4, you run up to the podium and you draft him. I think one thing to keep an eye on here, Joe, over the next couple of months is we're going to be spending a lot of time talking about Ruben Bain, about David Bailey, Arvell Reese, and how, once we get through the combine and all this other stuff, how teams and how evaluators kind of stack those guys and the pros and cons when you get in there and you rip everything apart, right? Because that's what happens with the film. You get in the combine and they're gonna measure, the length of Ruben Bain and how short are his arms and all this other stuff. It's gonna be really interesting to see how those guys are viewed by the time draft day comes around.
Measuring cheek size.
Wes, I said double shifting. Dude, what is wrong with you, Wes? The Bain stuff is gonna be fascinating for sure. And look, man, I just like I said before with scheme fit with some of these guys, like Reese a scheme fit and Salzdeep as well. Ruben Bain, I'm confident. Now, is it a top 5 pick? Is it a top 3 pick? I don't know. Someone texted Bain's a tackle. A lot of people think he's a 3 technique because of because of arm length. Okay. I mean, if he's as effective as I think he'll be watching him play at Miami, then great. You move him all over the place. You can't tell me that the guy can't ever come off the edge and make a play in the NFL. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just hard for me to get there. And there's a lot of elements that go into being a great pass rusher. Yes, absolutely. Arm length matters because of the punch of the offensive lineman. And if he can get his arms into you before you can get your arms into him, then you're going to lose that battle a lot. But there's a bend and a lot of the other athletic elements also are critical. And he's got everything else in abundance. So Ruben, it'll be interesting because Ruben Bay definitely he could fall because of that, and someone could end up getting a hell of a bargain.
As Kuharski pointed out, last time the Titans took an edge rusher in the first round, I think it was 2010. Was that Derek Morgan?
I think that was Derek Morgan. Yeah, no, that's wild for sure. They've obviously, Landry, second round. He wasn't third, right? He was second.
He's second, yeah.
Landry, second round pick. They've gone out and done it in free agency with Dupree and with Brian Arakpo, and you can get edges sometimes in free agency, as opposed to like it's easier to get that than like an offensive tackle typically. But yeah, it's probably about that time.
So let me ask you this: we've not gotten to this yet today. So Dave Borgonzi has been hired by the Titans. Now, apparently, obviously, if that name strikes you as familiar, it is. That is Mike Borgonzi's brother. But he's been hired to coach the linebackers by Robert Saleh. And apparently, Kuharski was talking about this yesterday, that Mike Borgonzi kind of excused himself from the hiring process here, but that Dave Borgonzi is now in the organization. We know that Saleh's brother Ahmed has joined the staff as a defensive assistant as one of the entry-level jobs. And I'm reading Paul Kuharski at paulkuharski.com today. He's talking about how, the history of this organization. There was a time that Bud Adams basically just had a no nepotism policy. Like it just wasn't going to happen. And the headline from Kuharski's piece here is the Titans invite optics debate with Dave Borgonzi, Ahmed Saleh hires. I mean, Joe, I don't know at the end of the day how big of a deal it is. We'll see. But what do you make of Saleh's brother and now Borgonzi's brother joining the coaching staff?
Robert, I'm not telling you what to do by any means. I'll step out right now, but there's a Dave Borgonzi, he's a very good coach. I just want to let you know. I did not telling you anything. You do whatever you want to do, Robert. It's your coaching staff. It's all over the league.
Yeah.
I commend Bud Adams for having that policy. Like sometimes, like for example, let's imagine that, and I know it didn't work out, okay? But the bottom line is the most exciting thing about the entire Brian Callahan hire was the idea of the Bill Callahan would be their O-line coach. Like imagine if, Bud's policy was in place then, sorry, can't do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those things that I can't sit here and talk to the quality of either person. Okay. It's just like when we talk about fans would go nuts if like Brian Poyle got the Preds GM job.
Yeah.
He may be the best, have the best eye for talent in the world. Right. But if you have that last name, there's going to be backlash. So, when the Titans lose and the Titans struggle, if linebackers, linebacker makes a terrible play in a loss, then you're going to invite more criticism because of that. How does the locker room view something like that? Probably some eye rolls, right? Probably some eye rolls, but at the same time, it's kind of like it's an extension of people getting mad at coaches for hiring their buddies. There's a lot at stake here. There is a lot at stake. This is high pressure. There is huge demands on everybody in the organization to do well, and there is a trust level, right? I mean, there is a loyalty and a trust level that comes with nepotism, and again, it's all over the league in part because of that.
Well, it just takes me back to the Vrabel days where everybody got so mad about him hiring his buddies, and I'm like, guys, this is what people do in the NFL. It's every staff, and now we're seeing it. I mean, we saw it with Callahan. We're seeing it now with Saleh. I mean, LaFleur's hired, I think, everybody that he's ever come in contact with at some point on his staff. It's just how things go in the NFL.
Yeah, you just got to hire smart, competent buddies and smart, competent relatives.
Who is your daddy, and what does he do?
Do we think Dave Borgonzi also uses the term idea? Is that part of the allure?
What's the big idea going through the 5? I told you to go.
Idea.
This is a double A gap. This is a double A gap.
The more of that we could get, the more I'm on board with it. Let's just keep it rolling. 615-737-1025, our phone number. More of your reaction to get to on the Titans. Plus, we'll get back into the Winter Olympics. Vandy women's basketball's big win last night against Texas. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Final segment of the day, Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game, taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. By the way, NASCAR action on the Game Nashville Sports Network all season, starting at 6:30 tonight. Catch live coverage of the NASCAR Truck Series race, fresh from Florida 250 on 1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app as well. Joe, big win last night for Vanderbilt against Texas on the women's front. They dominate against a very, very good Texas Longhorns team. They win 86-70 at home. Michaela Blakes with 34 last night. Aubrey Galvin had 18. That's a pretty large win for the Vanderbilt women and Shea Ralph on their home floor last night.
Gigantic. Mentioned this earlier in the show, but I was talking to Jake Lyman yesterday, and I got to hear a lot of his call last night. Great call by Jake Lyman. We were talking about, can Vandy hang in there? Can they give themselves a chance in this game? Texas has beaten UCLA. Texas has beaten South Carolina. Split with LSU. They split with South Carolina, but they split with LSU. So that's certainly UCLA and South Carolina are two of the clear three best teams in the country. UConn, the other one. Texas hasn't played that, but they've demonstrated their ability to play at the absolute highest level. Vandy had a win over Michigan. Vandy had a win over LSU. It is an incredible season. This is actually, according to Lyman on the broadcast last night, this is now 2 top 5 wins for the first time since 2001 for this program. But it was like, can they hang with Texas? Well, they were up like 23 on Texas. They were running them off the court. Texas came back, but they never got it. I don't think past 11 points. Michaela Blakes is the best player in the country. She should win National Player of the Year. I mean, Shea Ralph last night was like, she should win SEC Player of the Year. It's like, yes, but also National Player of the Year. And Aubrey Galvin is just a dynamic freshman point guard. And those two together, there's some other things that Vanderbilt doesn't have that some of these top teams have. They don't have the size. They don't have the depth. But those two guards are incredible. And we have Charlie Cream, the absolute GOAT of women's bracketology at ESPN. He just put out his new bracket, and he has Vanderbilt replacing Texas as a 1 seed. I'm a little bit surprised by that because of Texas's wins. But this is a quote from Charlie Cream. Quote, "It's impossible to argue against the Commodores' claim to be a number 1 seed now." And he points out, again, the head-to-head convincing, along with now their wins aren't too far. They're still behind them in net and wins above bubble and strength of schedule, but it's close enough that the head-to-head to him matters. So what a big deal that would be for Vanderbilt to get a 1 seed.
Big deal for sure. And they're good, man. Like, I'm really interested to see, first off, South Carolina still obviously great. We had somebody asking about Tennessee a minute ago. Nice response from Tennessee last night on the women's front. They take down Missouri, who's not very good. But, your coach got in on the podium earlier this week and basically talked about how everybody in your team quits. So I was interesting to see how they would respond last night. They responded well. Now, as I responded to this texter, the next time the Lady Vols are down like 15 points, do they just pack it in at that point, or do they actually, hang in there? That to me is going to be the next time we really find out about that, not taking down what is a not very good Missouri team.
Yeah, that's fair. It's a good response. So, it's like, it's at least because there is the question of when you call out teams like that now, call out players like that now, where again, it's a lot more 1 year, 2 years. It's not the same as it used to be. Do you get a response? At least there was a response that you want to see. They came out and blasted an inferior team and the former Tennessee coach. But yeah, there's still a lot to learn in that regard. And can they hang with the best teams? And by the way, Texas at Tennessee Sunday. I think that's at 2 o'clock on ABC. That game gets televised. 2 o'clock on ABC. So that's a big deal. And I'll tell you this, Charlie Cream, I respect him. He is the original bracketologist for women's college basketball. If I'm Vanderbilt, I would not hate seeing Tennessee win that game. I would to feel good about the one line. You have to take care of your business, and there's tough games ahead, by the way, for Vanderbilt. But I think you might need a little bit more help in terms of Texas losing.
Good start for USA Hockey yesterday. They smoked Latvia. They're back in action, I think, tomorrow. I think they play tomorrow and Sunday.
Yeah,
so
tomorrow, Denmark, Sunday, Germany. Both afternoon games, 2:10.
There we go. So just got to basically on Sunday hold Leon Draisaitl in check, or at least try to, and then you'll be fine. But good start. from Team USA. We're getting the gold this year, Joe. I can feel it.
Yeah, and not against Sweden. Hashtag Halamity.
Yeah, really good
Free
stuff going
Philip
on there.
Forsberg. There should be free Philip Forsberg T-shirts all
Shirts.
throughout the country of Sweden.
The whole, just lined at the Olympics, too. That's going to do it for us today here on the program. Hope everybody has an outstanding weekend. We will be back on Monday morning at 6 a.m. Next Man Up with Jake Lyman is coming up next. You're listening to 102.5 The Game.